That is, in a sense, to my mind, more Islamic, because it's supposed to be more just and fair.
What about the issue of Sharia law? Where do you stand on that question?
We made very clear, Sharia law has been implemented in part in the personal family law issues, and that could stay. Not only that, it has to be improved. Islamic court judges have got to be trained with the criminal procedure code. There must be a room and allowance for people to dispute and complain, including Muslims. But no way we will allow non-Muslims to be adjudicated by the Sharia courts, and the non-Muslims must be allowed and be given the freedom to be adjudicated in a civil court. So Sharia law is only insofar as Muslim family law and some issues that the Muslims are comfortable with, without transgressing into the rest.
Now, going back all those years, looking at it from the perspective of today, from 2008, why do you think Dr. Mahathir moved against you when you were both in government?
The issue then was corruption, nepotism, cronyism. The issue then was more good governance and accountability. And there are things that I was not prepared to do, including bailouts for his children, which I wouldn't want to go, because I think generally Malaysians are quite aware of that. And now, of course, he's gone to say that I'm pro-Jew and fit to become only Prime Minister of Israel. So I say he's forgiven, and I have no malice towards him. Let him go and lament whatever he wants.
You've said that the Mahathir regime, in fact you said it just then, that it's corrupt or was corrupt, but weren't you part of it? Weren't you part of the government?
Yes, but if you're aware, Jim, you will realize that in 1997 I introduced a tough legislation, Anti-Corruption Act. That was one of the major issues. Why did I introduce that? Why did I push hard studying the commission, the Corruption Commission in Hong Kong? Precisely because I realized as Finance Minister that corruption is getting to be more endemic, and that so many awards and contracts given to the children of Prime Minister and the families. And when I introduced that, there became a major battle between me and the leadership. One of the main reasons why I wasn't tolerated. So to suggest that nothing was done was not true. And look at my position on the independence of the judiciary. I even made the remark in front of the Chief Judge that you have to understand the law, not to know the judge.
What would you say to people who argue that a government headed by you would simply be UMNO in another guise?
Well, people have, I'm a liberal Democrat, people can assume things, but we are here committed to an agenda, and there's no turning back. 6 years in prison also taught me a lot. You mature in the process, and you know the mandate given is mandate for change. It's not mandate to repeat the excesses of the UMNO. There's no question about democratic Malaysia, no question about independent judiciary, no question about a free media and a just policy, economic, social policy for all Malaysians.
You had your differences with Dr. Mahathir over economic policy. He chose to ignore the IMF but still succeeded in insulating Malaysia from the Asian economic meltdown. So he did have a degree of success, didn't he?
The issue was never the IMF. It was clearly established that at no point did we, or myself, as Finance Minister, ever resorted to IMF. We were not in that chronic position as in the case of Indonesia, Thailand or South Korea to resort to a bailout by the IMF. But I did, as Finance Minister, making some adjustments looking at the financial convulsions at that period. This was just an excuse, a pretext by Mahathir to deflect from the stench in the backyard of massive corruption and rigging. How do you measure success ultimately? You measure by the mid-term economic performance. And you know after that, after the initial success, as compared to Indonesia, which was a very poor example. Indonesia, with the reserves, with the economic strength, with the investments, was far below Malaysia at that time. So to compare is, of course, is apple to orange. But what is important to my mind, all these countries, Korea has now surpassed us. Thailand has been able to be stabilized, able to stabilize the economy. Indonesia, in some ways, have even surpassed in terms of foreign direct investments, in terms of gaining more confidence. Malaysia has not been able to move beyond that.
You mentioned the economy just then and also earlier in the interview. What, in your view, is the prescription, the way forward for Malaysia at this juncture? Now,
I reiterate, first, we have lost our competitiveness. In the 1990s, with all the problems, excesses that you did allude to, Malaysia was still number one in terms of foreign direct investments, number one in terms of growth, number one in terms of competitiveness in ASEAN. Now, in terms of foreign direct investments, growth and competitiveness, we have lost. We are worse off in terms of free media index. We are worse off in terms of independent judiciary and corruption, which means we have to change. Now, we have to compete successfully in attracting foreign investments. Malaysia is not an obscure country that could just move on independently with domestic investments. We require a lot of support and generate enough confidence among our neighbors, friends in Australia, New Zealand, Europe and America and China, to be able to see Malaysia as an attractive destination for foreign investments.
And do you trust the police and the military to be fair in whatever transpires?
The military are known throughout history has been more professional, and I have no reason to suspect otherwise. But the police have been seen to be used from the days of the Mahathir era to be used by the ruling establishment. But I also sense that some members, some wings, a lot of police, senior police officers are claiming for more professional sort of attitude and position vis-a-vis in the conducting of their affairs.
Dr. Anwar, thanks very much for your time, and I hope we'll talk again soon.
Thank you.